Roguelikes on the Switch are just built different. You die, you learn, you go again, and somehow you can't stop. Whether you're on the couch or on the go, these games will eat your hours alive. Here are the 15 best roguelikes on Nintendo Switch and Switch 2. Vampire Survivors. You pick a character, drop into a gothic map crawling with monsters, and you just move. That's it. No aiming, no shooting on command. Your weapons fire automatically on a cooldown, and your only job is to keep walking while thousands of enemies close in on you from every direction. The goal is to survive for 30 minutes. The real game is in leveling up, picking weapons, and finding evolutions. When two weapons combine into something ridiculous, it's an absolute rush. You start with one attack, maybe a whip, maybe garlic breath, that damages anyone who gets too close. And over time, you're unleashing a storm of projectiles in every direction. Gold you earn carries over between runs and buys permanent upgrades. The more you play, the more characters, stages, and mechanics unlock. And there is a massive amount of content here for a game that costs next to nothing. Dave the Diver is a hard one to put in a box. Half of it is a roguelike diving game, where you explore a mysterious, ever-changing underwater cavern called the Blue Hole. The other half is a sushi restaurant simulator, and somehow these two things fit together perfectly. Dave is a big, lovable guy who gets roped into diving for fish by day and running a beachside restaurant at night. Underwater, you manage your oxygen like a health bar. It drains over time and takes a hit every time a fish or shark gets you. You carry guns to catch or fight sea life, and your loadout changes every dive since weapons spawn randomly in the depths. As you go deeper, you hit bigger threats, stranger creatures, and bizarre story events that honestly go in directions nobody expects. On the restaurant side, you're setting menus, managing staff, and upgrading the kitchen. Blueprints is unlike anything else on this list. You play as Simon, a young man who has inherited his eccentric great-uncle's enormous estate on Mount Holly. But there's a catch. To claim it, you have to find the hidden 46th room. The mansion resets every single day, and each morning you start fresh in the lobby, with 50 steps and 3 doors in front of you. Every time you open a door, you draft one of 3 randomly offered rooms: hallways, bedrooms, wine cellars, labs, and place them into a 9x5 grid to build your path forward. Run out of steps or hit a dead end, and the day is over, and the mansion resets. But here's the twist. You keep your knowledge. Every note you found, every puzzle clue you spotted, every pattern you noticed, that all stays with you. Blueprints is really a game where your brain is the progression system. Nobody saves the world. You play as Nobody, a pale, eyeless, completely blank little creature who wakes up in a dirty shack with 0 memory. A great calamity has covered the world in fungus, and monsters are everywhere. Nobody finds a magic wand and discovers he can shapeshift into 18 different forms: rats, guards, rangers, magicians, eggs, bodybuilders, mermaids, and more. The core loop is a top-down action RPG. You explore a big, handcrafted overworld filled with procedurally generated dungeons, each one with a unique twist on the rules. Sometimes enemies are immune to fire. Sometimes healing is blocked. The form swapping is the main mechanic. Every form has its own attacks, and you can mix and match abilities between them to build wild combos. Getting a new form and figuring out how to use it is always exciting. Quests tied to each form push you to experiment, instead of sticking to your comfort zone. Absolum. The world is Talav, a place where magic caused the catastrophe and is now outlawed, giving a tyrannical Sun King named Azra the excuse to enslave all remaining wizards through his Crimson Order. You play as one of 4 rebels, given the power of rebirth to fight back. The characters are Galandra, a calm but furious elf with a massive sword; Carl, the last free dwarf armed with a blunderbuss and bare fists; Cider, a nimble, clockwork-limbed skirmisher; and Brome, a frog wizard who surfs on his own staff. Combat is the heart of the game. You have light and heavy attacks that build into combos, a dodge that triggers a counter if timed right, air juggles, throws, and arcana magic abilities that charge with mana. Enemies are varied and force you to adapt constantly. Between rooms, you pick up rituals' elemental modifiers that reshape your playstyle for the run. Crystals persist and fund permanent upgrades at your base camp. Spelunky 2. You play as Anna, the daughter of the Spelunker from the first game. Her parents launched themselves to the moon in search of adventure and never came back. So she grabs her dog and follows them. That's the setup, and it's deliberately silly because the real story is the one you write by dying over and over in the most creative ways possible. The game is a 2D platformer where every level is procedurally generated, meaning no two runs are ever the same. You have a whip, a limited supply of bombs and ropes, and a small health pool. One bad step, a trap, a rolling boulder, a wrong shot, and you're back at the beginning with nothing. No stat carries over, only your knowledge. The world is layered with secrets, alternate paths, hidden NPCs, rideable mounts like turkeys and fire-breathing dogs, and a branching structure that opens up dramatically the deeper you get. Shogun Showdown is a turn-based roguelike set in a pixelated, feudal Japan, and the concept is brilliantly simple. You're a lone samurai fighting your way to take down the shogun. That's the whole story, and honestly, it doesn't need more than that. What it does with its combat is something else. Battles take place on a one-dimensional strip of 5 to 9 spaces. You and your enemies take turns, and every move you make, whether stepping forward, facing a direction, or queuing up an attack, counts as an action that lets enemies act too. You have tiles instead of cards, which are always visible and on cooldown timers, so luck is almost entirely removed. The skill is in knowing which tiles to queue and when you can chain up to 3 together for big combo sequences that wipe out multiple enemies at once. Balatro takes poker and turns it into something it was never supposed to be, and it's one of the most addictive games in years. You play rounds of poker, building hands like pairs, flushes, straights, full houses, but the goal isn't to beat an opponent. You're trying to score enough points to clear a blind. The twist is jokers. These are persistent cards that stack with each other to create increasingly insane multipliers and effects. One joker might double the score of every flush. Another might give you bonus points for every card of a certain suit. Layer enough jokers together, and suddenly a simple pair is scoring millions of points. Each run is a deck-building puzzle of finding synergies, upgrading your hand types, adding wildcards, and pushing combos as far as they'll go. The runs are timed by a series of escalating blinds. You beat the rounds, then face a boss blind with a nasty modifier that changes the rules. Cult of the Lamb. You play as a lamb who is about to be sacrificed when a mysterious, imprisoned god named the One Who Waits rescues you in exchange for your service, spreading his worship and building him a cult. The game blends 2 very different gameplay modes. In roguelite dungeon crawling mode, you fight through procedurally generated forests, swamps, and temples filled with enemies and mini-bosses, using a weapon and tarot card-like curses that change each run. In cult management mode, you return to your camp and run an actual village, assigning followers to chores, feeding them, giving sermons, constructing buildings, and performing rituals. The followers need care, or they get sick, starve, lose faith, or start spreading doubt in your cult. You recruit new members by converting defeated enemies. The 2 halves feed into each other. Better cult resources give you stronger runs, and dungeon loot fuels your camp's growth. Rogue Legacy 2 is the sequel to the game that helped define what a modern roguelike could be, and it does everything better. The concept is simple and clever. Every time you die, you pick one of 3 heirs from your bloodline to continue the run, and each heir comes with a class, a set of traits, and a unique weapon and spell. Traits are wild. Your heir might be claustrophobic and see the dungeon as tiny rooms, or dyslexic with scrambled menu text, or lactose intolerant and unable to eat certain foods. Classes range from standard knights and mages to very creative options like chefs who fling pots and bards who turn enemies into musical notes. Gold you earn persists across deaths and funds a sprawling upgrade tree that gradually makes your heir stronger and unlocks new abilities. The castle and its biomes, each with distinct bosses and visual identities, are huge, layered, and filled with secrets. Hades. You play as Zagreus, the immortal son of Hades, trying to escape the Greek underworld to find his mother, Persephone. Every time you die, which is often, you wake up in the house of Hades, chat with gods and shades, and try again. The loop is fluid and compelling. Before each run, you choose a weapon: sword, shield, bow, spear, railgun, or fists, and then the Olympian gods like Zeus, Athena, Poseidon, and Artemis shower you with boons, special upgrades that fundamentally change how your weapons and abilities behave. Building synergies between boons across a run is where most of the depth lives. The action is fast, precise, and responsive. Hades is one of the best feeling games to control in the genre. The real hook, though, is the story. Between every run, characters grow and evolve. Conversations deepen relationships. New story beats unlock the further you push. Inscryption. You start sitting across a table from a dark, hooded figure named Leshy in a creepy log cabin. He wants to play a card game with you using woodland creatures, and the stakes are real: lose, and something bad happens. The card mechanics are layered and genuinely strategic. Creatures cost blood, sacrifice weaker cards, or bones, from dead cards, to play. And the goal is to tip a scale by dealing enough damage to your opponent. You build a deck of creatures with different stats and abilities, and between battles, you wander the cabin looking for upgrades, items, and secrets. Then things start shifting. You start noticing things in the environment that don't belong. There are secrets built into the game itself, actual codes, real puzzles, things hidden in the interface. And discovering them sends Inscryption somewhere genuinely surprising and strange. Slay the Spire. You climb a spire floor by floor, choosing a path through a node map that branches between enemies, elite fights, shops, rest sites, events, and treasure rooms. After each fight, you add cards to your deck, and the core skill of the game is building a coherent deck that synergizes not just collecting the most powerful-looking cards. There are 4 characters, each with completely different card sets and playstyles. The Silent uses poison and shivs. The Ironclad stacks strength and armor. The Defect uses orb-based automation. The Watcher juggles stances that can send her damage sky-high or make her nearly untouchable. Relics found throughout runs add passive effects that can completely reshape your strategy. Boss fights are hard and punishing, designed specifically to stress test whatever deck you've built. Dead Cells. You play as a consciousness, controlling a prisoner's dead body in a rotting, plague-ridden island kingdom. The story trickles out through lore you collect, and it slowly reveals something grim about what's actually happening on this island, and who or what you really are. Gameplay is a fast, fluid dance of combat and exploration. Levels are semi-procedurally generated, meaning the layout changes each run, but key areas stay consistent enough to let you build a map of the world over time. The weapon variety is staggering. Swords, bows, shields, spears, traps, grenades, whips, and more. In building synergies between your 2 weapon slots and 2 ability slots is where the depth comes from. The combat is precise and punishing. Getting hit hurts, and stringing perfect kills builds a momentum that keeps health flowing back. Hades 2. You play as Melinoe, the sister of Zagreus, a witch raised in secret by the Titan Kronos, who has defeated Hades and taken control of the underworld. Your goal is to fight your way down to Tartarus, and eventually up through the surface world to confront Kronos. The world of Hades 2 is massive. Multiple distinct underworlds and surface regions, each with their own enemies, bosses, and lore. The weapon variety has expanded significantly, and the boon system from the first game returns with new gods and more complex interaction trees. New mechanics like spellcasting using magic, tool-based gathering for crafting, and training grounds for permanent upgrades add layers that the original didn't have. Melinoi is a wonderful protagonist, different from Zagreus, but equally compelling, and the cast of characters around her is even richer. Whether you're brand new to the genre or already a diehard, there's something here for every kind of player. Drop your favorite in the comments and let me know what game kept you up way too late. If you found this useful, subscribe. There's more gaming content coming. See you in the next one.